It's my turn now to present Simon Teyssou, the French architect, founder of the Atelier de Rouget in France, the Rouget workshop, with some words. Simon Teyssou's position, which is still singular in France, makes him a trailblazer for a new vision of the architect's role. I will explain it by a little history of France. French architects of the last century, I have to explain, had to deal with massive urbanization, like in China, more or less. Not the same scale, but it was pretty hard. So we had to deal with a massive urbanization, and architects had to build very quickly, under pressure, entire city, hundreds of homes as fast as possible. The best of them, then, Paul Dubuisson, Fernand Pouillon, Paul Chemetov, French architect, wanted to rise to this challenge of large numbers. They say to the government, architects can face this challenge of quantity without compromising on quality. But unfortunately, this ethical challenge was lost. Their vision was defeated by a very mediocre industrialization of construction, as in many other countries, by the way. Today, which architect still believes in making the world better through the quantity of projects you will be able to build? This affects the new generation, who has a feeling of not responding enough to the needs. Simon Teyssou's paradigm shift is this. Building less today doesn't mean resignation. Building less allows us to develop a different ethics of quality, an ethics of care at first and foremost. The micro project, so he says, that Simon Teyssou deals with opens the way to a micro treatment to the things that make a place better, and above all, an ethics of exemplarity. It's no longer the time to make an example out of quantity. It's better now to carry out situated projects that are experimental, to refine processes, to give them an aesthetic, so that those processes can be disseminated, taken up by other architects on other situated programs. In this, Simon Teyssou joins other Global Award winners. Let us think of Francis Quéré, by example. When Francis is criticized in his own country, Burkina Faso, for building too little, for building too few, he simply replies, when I built one school, I built it well, because I built it to educate to a better architecture for schools. Like him, Simon Teyssou chose this site. This architect, a disciple of Kenneth Frampton, who lived in the United States, settled in Auvergne, a very rural region. But you have to know that rurality was not less abused in France than the French city during the blooming of reconstruction. L'Atelier de Rouget, which he founded, brings quality back to these rural areas, not through radical projects, but through precisely located projects agreed by the communities, projects that build on each other, treats their subject with care, that brings their subject with care, and each of one brings their piece to an inhabited environment, to a society that wants to develop collectively and harmoniously. Simon Teyssou Urban's micro-project earned this year the Grand Prix d'Urbanisme in France, Great Prize of Planning in France. It's a nice year for Simon Teyssou. for those very little projects. It's by the way a paradox, but it is a very happy paradox because it means he is setting, like Francis Quéré, an example. So, dear Simon, I give you the words and my place.
Thank you very much. I'm going to set the... okay, everything's ready. I would like to thank the jury for my nomination to the Global Award for Sustainable Architecture. This prize means a lot for me, and it's a great honor to be part of the Global Award community. And I warmly greet the other winners. And I met some of them in Venice a few months ago. I started my practice in a remote place in a small village called Rouget in France, in the Auvergne region, southwest of the Massif Central. The Rouget is located on the dividing line between the Dordogne watershed to the north and the Lot watershed to the south. You can see on this plan, on this map, those two main rivers that finish into the Garonne and eventually in the Atlantic Ocean. But you can also see the Cantal volcano system on top of the picture. Hope you see the pictures. Is everything okay with the...
Simon, we don't see your picture.
You do not see the picture?
Yes, now again. Thank you very much.
Oh, okay. So this region suffered a massive rural exodus from the end of the 19th century. The state has largely subsidized the planting of conifers on pastures formerly occupied by the livestock farms. And that started after the Second World War. You can see on this map all the new forest in red. The other forests are represented with the pink color. Those traditional forests are hardwood. And as my agency grew, I bought a free plot of land in the middle of the village of Le Rouget to have my workshop there, and 3 homes, including mine. So to build that small building, we made a clearing cut in a family forest to build the office and the apartments. The wood you can see here on those 2 pictures are Douglas fir that were planted in the 60s. And in doing so, the architecture of the building expresses new paradigms, which with a significant reduction in the carbon footprint of construction. At this point, I must explain that the traditional buildings of the village were constructed in stone, in granite, mostly, and hardwood. And after the Second World War, of course, all the quarries closed, and cement blocks or concrete replaced stone, and wooden windows, for example, were replaced by plastic windows. So I'm going to show you a few pictures of the workshop that show how framework interior joinery and furniture characterizes the architecture. That's the ground floor of the office. The previous picture was the top floor of the agency. But the fact is, the sun is also, and its course is also an important resource for the project. The Rouget is located at an altitude of 650 meters, and it can be quite cool at night, including in the summer. It can obviously be very cold also in winter time. But on the other hand, the region has a significant amount of sun, with which you can really design architecture. This is why the project strives to capture solar energy to return it indoors by phase shift. The large shutters you can see on this picture allow, of course, us to control solar gain. So we can shut the shutters. All the left shutters are articulated together. All the left ones are also articulated, of course. So you can shut the whole facade if you wish, according to solar gain. You can see on this two diagrams, one section and one plan, the proportion between wood and concrete. Of course, we also need concrete in wooden structures for inertia and also to help all the structural systems of the building. And of course, the architecture also gives rise to intermediate spaces where the pleasure of living is expressed. You can see here the double height space in front of the studio and the loggia that is suspended to the wooden structure that faces my apartment. Those two pictures show the quality of light. At the winter solstice, the sun enters the depths of inhabited spaces, and in summer, direct solar radiation does not enter. But those pictures show also something that I try to develop into my architecture, is the idea that the relation to exterior is not like a sort of a traditional window in a thick wall or a modern horizontal window into a thin wall. It's rather sort of the fabrication of a ecotone between interior and exterior, very thick. It's sort of different layers that come from the exterior towards the interior. This project was the starting point of a series of other buildings which explore the possibilities offered by the articulation of filigree wooden structures, promoting local resources, as I showed on the earlier map, showing all the wood resource that you can use to build nowadays. And the relation also to concrete or earthworks that are combined with the wooden structures. Those diagrams here are only plans, show the proportional relationship between wood and concrete, or earth sometimes. And of course, the goal is to improve the carbon footprint of construction. The first building is a cultural and associative center in the Rouget, my village. Again, it shows a combination between laminated structure in Douglas fir again, and a concrete core, as you can see on the plan and the section. Here, for this project, the wooden structures are protected by a zinc cladding, and the wood is either protected outside or inside, and the project is very simple. It's a volume with one single opening on each facade, including the roof. You can see on those pictures the associative spaces using several types of wood, either Douglas fir or pine tree, but also oak tree for the flooring. Here you can see a dancing space for dancing groups, and you can also see the relation between the wooden structure and the concrete core that has a very important role for to stock energy, solar energy. The second building is a market hall, and it references. It's inspired by those traditional barns you can see on the picture that were once covered with thatched roof, but from the 1950s, the thatch was replaced by galvanized steel sheets, which eventually rusted in the time. So the project is inspired by the archetypal volumetry of the barn as well as its specific framework. But what I like also about those galvanized steel sheet that got rusted is also the relation to the landscape. You have to imagine that in the autumn, ferns and beeches on the mountain slopes get this same color. That's a diagram of a traditional barn with its plan and its framework. Very simple repetition of the same system every meter. It's a there's no hierarchy in the framework. It's always the same repetition with the same modular system. And that's the plan, the diagram of the market hall that was inspired by those traditional buildings, traditional barns. Here's a picture of the marketplace in the village, in this one of the most beautiful valleys of our region. So, of course, the two main walls were excavated as if we opened the walls of the traditional farm. And inside, we discover the woodwork that is directly inspired by the framework of the traditional barns. But all the parts of the structure which are in link with snow, for example, because it's that project is at about 1,000 meters high, so there's quite a lot of snow in that part of the Cantal. So here, all those elements that are in contact with the snow are in metal, the same quality than the roof. The third project is here again inspired by traditional architecture of the Quercy region, which is in the département of the Lot. You can see here a traditional barn, here another traditional house with a particular plan, but you can see the very specific roofs which are covered with terracotta tiles. And so the project I'm going to talk about now is the house of the Cos du Quercy Natural Park, which is located in La Bastide-Murat, and it's influenced by the traditional architecture, but also Oriental inspirations, either Chinese or Japanese, with a double courtyard system. It's as if we had two barns, one against the other, but with two courtyards separating them. And the project is situated at the entrance of the village, astride an embankment, and is organized around two courtyards, as I said. And the entire entrance of the village is reclassified to facilitate the pedestrian mobility for all the inhabitants between the center of the village and the contemporary extensions. So you can see this new path that goes under the building to join the town village, the town center. Sorry, that's the relation of the main facade facing south and facing also the entrance of the village. In this architecture, the water is not collected at the roof level, but on the ground, and it's the same in the courtyards. So as he has obviously a very important role in for the quality of the climate in the buildings, because it can become very hot in that area of France. So it's also a way to respond to the climate change. And there again, the water is collected on the ground, so as in such a way it can stay the longest in the courtyard to help cool off all the interior spaces as soon as you open all the windows that open on this on those two courtyards. The wall insulation is all made of local straw bars. It's another way to imagine using resources that are directly linked to local territory. Finally, I'm going to talk about a very small project, which is a house, a very small house for a couple of farmers in the Découvrez region. It's a bit further north from where I live, about 1 hour and a half, 1 hour and a half drive. And the project is inspired here by 3 references by the architecture of the designer Charlotte Perriand. The Auvergne built-in beds that look like cupboards in which you can protect yourself from the cold weather, cold temperatures. And the third influence is a Japanese traditional architecture. The house is very different from the other ones, which are all built in granite. You can see the house, the village here. I don't know if you see on the right. You can see the village far away. What I like, by the way, about this picture is that is the changing landscape. You see, on this picture, all the voids have become full over the decades. It means the different shades of green and brown show the difference between hardwood and coniferous forest. All the green is recent forest. That means this farm is the only one of this area that still is in use. Otherwise, all the pastures have been transformed into forests. So I was saying that this, the house is very different from the others, which are all built in granite, in stone. which shows a specific place, such as in a way the farmers can overlook what's happening in the farm, because they are the only inhabitants here all year round. Some other families come here on vacation, but otherwise in winter time, for example, they are the only ones to live in this remote place. The house, here's the figure of the diagram of the house, the plan and a section. And here the masonry is very simple. It's only one wall built in earth between wooden structures, and only there for inertia in such a way that the solar energy can be stocked in that wall and restitute the heat after a few hours. So of course the plan is very different from an ordinary house with 12 square meters bedrooms, for example, or very separate spaces. It's like a open space, and the bedrooms are sort of cupboards in which you can sleep. So the bedrooms are like 3 or 4 square meters only, and some that's a picture of the house. Which is what's interesting also is that it's the farmers who built the house. So we designed very precise plans that were respected by the farmers. It's the relation between interior and exterior with the view on the farmland. That's one of the bedrooms or living area. It's very the space is very polyvalent. Another picture of this central wall in earth that's covered with lime, sort of a stucco, and you can see the fireplace that heats the whole house very simply. And at last, here's the building that we designed, which is a sheepfold, entirely self-built again by the farmers, and produced with extreme economy of means. It cost not even 140 euros per square meter. And the side greenhouses accommodate different functions depending on the seasons. Growing vegetables in the summer, but it also serves for the lambing, for the birth of the lambs at the end of the winter. A few pictures taken a few days ago in that farm. That's the greenhouse as it is today, with the end of the season of tomatoes and other different vegetables. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Simon. All of us, we wish to be animals now, to live in your last project.